Today, it was all about the defense and the hearings for two APD officers charged with murder. Attorneys went back and forth about the credibility of witnesses being asked to testify. News 13's Gabrielle Burkhart was in the courtroom. Gabby?
Jessica, the defense brought in a man with a lengthy history of training officers for situations like the James Boyd encounter. But the state pointed out he's also got a lengthy history of siding with police.
Be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, sir.
For nearly 5 hours, a judge heard testimony from Ronald McCarthy, an expert witness on police SWAT training tactics brought in by the defense. Day 4 of a preliminary hearing.
What they were doing was reasonable.
But it comes down to convincing a judge. He'll decide if Officer Dominique Perez and retired Detective Keith Sandy will go to trial on charges for killing James Boyd. McCarthy is former LAPD with a long history of training police for dangerous situations. He says Boyd never surrendered.
He did not exhibit those actions that police officers are trained to recognize would indicate surrender.
He says officers followed training when they attempted to negotiate and eventually shot Boyd, who still had knives. But prosecutors don't buy it.
It would be unacceptable to use deadly force on a person who's surrendering and not a threat.
That's correct.
The state also pointed out McCarthy is often paid to testify in court for police.
You average around $60,000 or $70,000 a year as an expert witness, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that about 99% of the time you testify for the police officer in a case, don't you?
Yes, sir.
The defense maintains it's important for the judge to hear from experts like McCarthy to understand why officers shot Boyd. But their next witness didn't get a chance to testify yet.
I do.
Because I think he's not qualified.
The state has problems with the credibility of a man critics say too often sides with police in court cases. Dr. William Lewinsky spent the rest of the day going over his qualifications. Now, that witness will be on the stand again tomorrow morning. It's unclear at this point whether the judge will allow his testimony, and it's looking like this preliminary hearing will last longer than just this week. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Gabrielle. Earlier in the day, the court heard from the neighbor that called 911 on James Boyd for illegally camping in the foothills. Alexander Thuxton says he'd seen Boyd there before and was afraid of him. The state asked why he didn't call the city's 311 line to try and offer help to Boyd.
I feared for my safety, so I did not want to just call 311 to donate something to him. I don't want that around my family. I don't want that around my house.
The hearing will continue tomorrow morning at 8:30, and it will be there. You can follow along on our live stream all week on KRQE.com or on our KRQE app.